What's up, you beauties? Welcome to High and Wide's Hockey's YouTube channel episode. Jack, is this season 2? I'm sorry, is this episode 2?
This is episode 2. I can't remember the season now. 8, maybe?
Wow. Yeah, so if you guys don't know by now, through 8 seasons, I'm Jim Ichabone. That's Jack Smith. We're back for episode 2 of season 8. It's the middle of July. We got some topics for you. It's not a topic-packed show. We might have some surprises for you later on in the show, some announcements, maybe. But if you're catching us live on YouTube, we ask you for one favor. Make sure you smash that subscribe button and hit the alert so you never miss one of our shows. For all the podcast listeners out there, there's still a lot of you out there. We still love you guys. Don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts or Spotify so you're the first in line when newest episodes drop. And we'll do the hat read maybe later on in the episode so we can get going here. But look at this button I found. Like and subscribe. There you go. That's a new little trick we got. Jack, middle of July. Draft is long gone. Yeah, free agency is now. It seems like 2 months ago. It's 2 weeks ago. The dust has kind of settled a little bit. There's still some, there's RFAs out there, which maybe we can touch on at some point in the show. But last week we talked about forwards. This week we're going to touch on the defense at some point. There was a meeting. I believe it was the GM meeting with the league. They talked about the draft. We'll get to that. Are they going to go back to a centralized draft, or is it going to stay decentralized? We'll get your take on that. We're going to talk about the length of the season. Are they going to make it longer like everything else? We got prospect rankings for you guys, and we'll talk potentially 2026 free agent class. Jack, it seems longer than a week since we last did a show, but it's the dog days of summer. The days are dragging on. Everything seems a little bit longer than it actually is. What do you want to talk about first this week, bud?
I think we should get into the defense. It is the dog days for sure. And I'm just any kind of position battles or training camp stuff or just potential we could have for this season, I would like to discuss and look forward to, because that's really all we got.
All right, so let's get into that. That's a good one. So there should be battles up and down the Flyers' top 6. And locks for the top 6. You got to assume Sanheim. And, we'll get to pairings and whatnot. Sanheim, York. Ristolainen's going to be hurt, so that's going to throw a wrench. Could miss some time there. Jamie Drysdale's 4. Nick Seeler's 5. And then we have Igor Zamula, who's one of those, he's not controversial in a major sense, but he's a guy that's been around for a little bit now. And we have guys like Emil Andre knocking on the door. I don't know if we'll see what kind of camp Oliver Bonk has. Flyers bring in Noah Juleson, Jack. Where do you want to start here? You want to start from the bottom up or top down?
Go top down, get the obvious ones out of the way, and then talk about the possible position battles.
Okay, let's start with the top pair.
So for me, it's going to be some kind of combination. He's got to go with Sanheim. I'm thinking maybe Sanheim and Drysdale, if not York, but I see York more in the second pair. Sanheim, Drysdale. I would normally say Risto and York starting out on that second pair, but with Ristolainen being out, we'll see what they do there. Nick Seeler is going to be a third pairing guy with insert whoever. So I don't really have much to add. Sanheim seems to be the steady Eddie that we have right now, our best defenseman and team leader. He's going to have to just keep improving, he's shown, leaps and bounds from where we were about 2.5 years ago. So very satisfied with that. Hope he keeps it going, doesn't take any steps back. That's very important. But speaking of important, Drysdale probably has the biggest importance, and I'm going to be harder on him this year than I've ever been. I think a lot of people, since we got him, have been pretty all over anything he does. First year it was like the new team and having dealt with previous injuries, and then he got injured at the end of that year. The surgery he had and what we were told, I was like, well, I'll give him next year to officially completely settle in, because they're going to hang on to him and see what they have. So now we're at that year where all the excuses are gone. And I'm not saying I dislike what he did before. It obviously he doesn't get an A+, but it's not like he got an F either. So this is the year. I'm just going clean slate. All that stuff's in the past. You have your buddy Zegras here now. You're settled in. You're healthy. Now you need to blossom into the defensive prospect that we traded for. And, I don't need to see you completely bloom and be done a finished product, but I really need to see some significant steps forward. And he, on the defensive side, and it's almost not fun, where some of these other guys in the bottom pair, like you want to get them a cup of coffee and you want to see what they have. Will it be Hellsgrons? Will it be Zamula sticking around, or is this his last shot? Will Andre stick at the NHL level? Like, those things are kind of fun because a lot of those guys could drop down and come back up. For Drysdale, it's like really freaking important that we make this work. And one, for the trade, because screw Cutter in every sense of the word, but also we need a defenseman to do what he does or should do. And we saw plenty of flashes that we like, but can he do it consistently? Can he upgrade his defensive play? Can he be a top pairing defenseman, even though he's not a number one, who can play on the power play and do things that you need him to do? And, if he can't, we've lost the trade. And I'm not saying this year is the end all be all, but this is the year I'm really going to start to crack down, and the excuse bag is empty. And we're really going to start to get critical with this team. Also, because the team itself has said, we're turning a corner. We're going to try to win. They're going to try to make the playoffs. We're going to do everything under the sun to get better. So part of that, a big part of that, is Drysdale. So Sanheim, Drysdale there. York obviously signed the 5-year deal, taking him through all of his 20s. I would obviously like to see him still get better, but there is always that I just got paid. Does he keep playing, or does he take a little bit of a step back? I don't know. He doesn't seem to me to be the type to take a step back. I think his confrontation with Torts, say what you will about the whole situation, it's shined a new light on York for me, and it's a good light. He has balls, and he gives a rat's ass, which we may have questioned in the past. And now can he round out the rest of his game and maybe even toss in some of that offense we thought we drafted him for? So it's another big year for him. Obviously, he'll still be with the team, but hey, trades happen. So really, York and Drysdale are the guys who are NHL caliber defensemen. Are they part of this team going forward, and are they big cogs going forward? Those two specifically. Ristolainen, I really don't know. He's hurt again. We talked about this last year, and even maybe the year before when he wasn't traded. It was trade him at the deadline. Nope, they're going to get more for him in the offseason. Now he's hurt again. This is back-to-back off seasons, really. He's been hurt, and he's going to miss time this season, like going into the season. It's like, are they going to stick with him because he's a big boy, or are they going to have him come back, play, and if they're not in the playoff race, flip him for something? A lot of what-ifs with Risto, a lot of what-ifs. I don't expect him to be a part of the future, but who the hell knows with how they are apparently turning the corner. Seeler is Nick Seeler. I don't know what else to say. He's got to just keep doing what he does, maybe get a little bit better, I guess. We know what he is. There's nothing I can really add to that. He is what he is, and I'm completely fine with that. And then the fun part comes in. Like, Zamula is not so much fun. This could be his last year. I'm not sure if you mentioned Noah Juleson. I think you did. He's your Eric Johnson, essentially. Big boy, which we like, but like Zamula found himself in that role a little bit. Wouldn't you rather see Andre or Hellsgrons, or God forbid somebody like Oliver Bonk comes up, or McDonald midway season makes his way up, or something like that? We're definitely knocking on the door for that. I think it's definitely going to be the last year in some capacity for Zamula. I can't see him turning it around enough with the Flyers buy in on him. Juleson's a non-factor. I really would like, of that group, I want Andre to make it and stick for the rest of the season. That would be huge. And there's a little bit of worry there. And a lot of people are like, well, Torts set him down, and that screwed up his whole season. Well, I'm going to look, and that may be partially true, but I'm going to look for the player to be able to rebound and figure things out. He was not that good in the AHL, particularly the playoffs. He did not shine like they thought he was going to. So I'm really looking forward to him rounding out his game, becoming a full-time NHLer. And a lot of that might have had to do with being in the show for as long as he was and having to go back down. So hoping he can stick at it. Jim, I've ran on for a good 5 minutes there. Your thoughts on the defense?
Yeah. So, you're right. There's a lot there. So I'll start with the top as well. I feel like, obviously, Sanheim, Cam York, going to be your top pair. There's things I like about each of their games, and there's things that I don't like. And, I think obviously with Sanheim now, he kind of just is what he is. Not a number one defenseman, but I think at worst he's a 3 or even a 2. If you find a guy that you can pair up, honestly, I think there's another level to Sanheim's game offensively still. I don't think he'll be allowed to hit that playing with Cam York. I've said that a lot. I don't think, and we'll see this year how, Tocchet kind of has York playing. Do they set? I think he even said he wants more offense out of him. He wants him working on getting pucks to goal. He wants him walking the blue line, which I've never seen Cam York do. But if he has that skill in him and he just wasn't able to show it, okay, let's see. Like I'm willing to. I think the way you feel about Drysdale is the way that I feel with Cam York, whereas, we've actually gotten to see him for, I think, 3 years now. And honestly, have we seen that dynamic offensive player? I don't know if he was ever called dynamic, but when I hear about a defenseman, walking the line and creating his own shot and getting pucks to goal and getting up ice quick and joining the offensive rush, I don't think Cam York when I think those things. You know what I mean? So I'm interested to see if Tocchet, is going to allow him to do those things, and can he do them? Because there's a difference between being allowed to try to do these things and actually being able to. So I guess the Flyers trust that he has this in him because they signed him for 5 years, at a pretty decent cost, a second pair rate, if you will, which is what I've been saying Cam York is. Which, there's nothing wrong with that, being a second pair guy. You need strong second pair guys on good teams, as we've seen in the playoffs. So I'll be watching for Cam York. Okay, new coach. You're said to be this offensive guy. You can't blame Torts anymore. I think the way that you feel with Drysdale is the same way I feel with Cam York. You can't blame the coach now, right? Who was asking you to block shots and play defense. And, that was kind of the argument that a lot of guys on Twitter and whatnot will use for York, that, Torts was using him this way, so he wasn't able to be his offensive self. Or, Torts never put him. And look, the stat that we brought up last week, I think it was Jordan Hall that posted it, that Jet Luchanko had more power play time than Cam York. Look, do I like Cam York on the power play? No, but that is absurd. That is crazy. If you can't say you want more offense out of a guy and not even put him on the power play too, so we'll see. Cam York is a guy that I'm going to zero in on. And I think the theme for me throughout this defense, there's a lot of we'll see on this defense. Cam York's one of those guys that I'll be watching closely next year. Travis Sanheim, I would love for them to actually find a top pair D to play along Sanheim. I think Sanheim is a top pair D, but he's definitely a number 2 without question. And I think if they could find a guy who would be just comfortable playing, that defensive rock on the right side, which would allow Sanheim to go back to his natural left side, I think we could see a Sanheim that puts up 45, 50 points year in and year out. He's in his prime. It would just be nice if they had a guy to allow him to do that. Moving down the pairings a bit here, Ristolainen's going to be out. We talked about him a little bit. In my opinion, and look, I get that this is not popular, Rasmus Ristolainen was their most consistent defenseman last year. And I'll say it. I said it during the year last year. I'll say it now. He was their best defenseman all around last year, I thought. Whenever there was a board battle, a battle around goal, a race to a puck, he won a lot of those. And maybe it looked different on TV as opposed to, the bird's eye view, whatever. But he was as consistent as you could be. And at times, I thought played like that defensive top pair guy that I'm talking about that could help Sanheim elevate his game. They could have that guy already. Now he's going to miss some time. Jack, remind me, is he signed for just one year here? Does he have an extra year left on his deal?
I believe he has 2 years left.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, depending on how the season goes, if the price is right for Ristolainen at next year's trade deadline, sure. But I think my stance is still going to be the same as it was last trade deadline. If you don't get exactly what you want, this is a valuable part of the roster kind of thing. But there's question marks with him. When's he going to come back? Number one.
Is he going to stay healthy?
Number two. Yeah, because he had 2 straight years ending the season on an injured reserve, right?
He's only getting older. It's only going to get worse.
Yeah, I mean, he's a year older than Sanheim. We're not calling Sanheim old.
Well, I didn't say he was old. It's older. And it seems with each year, he's getting hurt. And it's like, I thought it was kind of a thing to keep him in Philly. Now I'm kind of like, well, I don't know now.
It really might be.
Yeah. Have to break him up with somebody. But it's, it's a shame because he really has like completely turned his career around here. And it's like, I do want to trade somebody like that because I don't think he's a part of the future, unfortunately, because he's starting to get so injury prone. But at the same time, you can see the team really likes their size. And there was a time where I was like, there is no chance Risto is a part of the future. He was an old regime ad. Get what you can for him. And, they kept him around, and it wasn't the end of the world. I felt they could always trade him. Everybody who didn't want him to trade it at the trade deadline said trade him at the offseason. He's been hurt the entire for both. So it's like, what are you going to do? But now I'm starting to like the way they've drafted, the way they've looked at adding players. I'm like, and especially on defense, like, I really think Risto's going to be here for like, I don't know if they're going to trade him, and then if you have these injuries and this slow start to the season, it's just another excuse not to trade him. So I'm like, sure, could he be waiting for the last year of his deal? I guess. But a part of me is like, maybe they just keep him around. He's a big boy. It depends on what next free agent, 2026 free agency brings, I guess. But I'm just going to watch.
He's good. Like
when he's healthy and he's playing, he is exactly what you need. Sure,
I'm telling you, like,
makes mistakes, sure, but not many.
Well, like what I'm telling you, like when I watch him play, I'm like, this guy, like this is Rasmus Ristolainen. Like from 2023 to 2024, that year, for me, he started to be like, wow, he's become really consistent, and I think from a defensive standpoint, defensive aspect, really any NHL player, when they can be consistent, a reliable guy to put in your lineup, when you can plug in a consistent, reliable guy, to me, he becomes exponentially valuable to your roster because you know what you're getting in this guy going into every single game. And look, you look up and down the Flyers roster defensively anyways. Cam York, you could say, was a model of consistency in the way that he plays. Sanheim, I would say no. Sometimes he gets hot. Sometimes he gets cold. He makes silly mistakes. He'll get beat at the blue line going the other way. Jamie Drysdale, he'll trend down for long stretches of time and then pop up and then trend back down. It's really hard to ice inconsistent players. So I think when you find a guy that's consistent, you know what you're getting every single night. In my opinion, like Ristolainen's been for the last 2 years now. And the injuries kind of, if there were no injuries, it'd be like, wow, this guy is bona fide top 4, potentially top pair guy. But I think with the injuries is where maybe a lot of the question marks come in, unfortunately. And then I think the reputation that he had, the Flyers gave up a lot for him, number one, and then Fletcher doubled down. I think early on in his contract, it didn't look very good considering how they got him, what they signed him to. But as his career unfolded here, I would say towards the end of like year 2, perceptions maybe should have started to change if we're being fair when we evaluate, right?
That was like year 1 of Torts. Weird.
Yeah. Brad Shaw was here and helped.
That's really what I should have said, but yeah. Although Jim, we if we're talking about the defense, I want to mention this real quick.
Sure. Year
1 without Bradshaw. I believe it'll be Todd Reardon running the defense this year. So just heads up.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens with some of these guys. Bradshaw's up in New Jersey now. Hopefully, he's going to work his magic up there, but hopefully not. So
defensive whisperer.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know much about Todd Reardon, is just that he used to coach the Capitals, and I think was he with Pittsburgh last year? Do you remember off the top of your head?
Yes, I believe he was, and
Okay.
he was an assistant with Washington when they won the Cup. So there is something there. Maybe some guys are better at number twos. You know what I mean? So
I wish he'd shave his head too. Like, that's the other thing. Like, just get rid of it, dude. He's got one of the horseshoe shaped cuts, you know?
Oh yeah, the old man look.
Yeah, the old horseshoe. Like, just get rid of it, dog.
Can you do a horseshoe, Jim?
If I grew it out, I'm sure I could, yeah.
Okay.
If this was like 1980, 1990, I'm sure I'd have a horseshoe. Like, that was the style for bald men.
I can't
for
imagine.
whatever reason.
You look like George Costanza.
I tell you what, if I had a George Costanza kind of life personality, I wouldn't be upset about that. But I would still be upset about the ball.
You said you told me you're unemployed and you live with your parents. What was the other thing you said?
I don't know.
It was I'm unemployed, or I can't. There was another thing. I went up to some woman. I'm unemployed. I'm bald and I live with my parents. But he didn't say he was bald.
And he ended up talking to her or something, right?
Works. Yeah, I can't remember what the other line was. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, in the diner.
Employed. I live with my parents, and I can't remember the other one. But yeah, there you go, Jim.
Yeah. All right.
Cul-de-sac.
Let's get back on. Yeah, the cul-de-sac. That's it. All right. So Ristolainen, he's got questions. There's questions about Risto. Like, number one, when's he going to play? Okay, but who would his defense? So Ristolainen's out. So we're putting together a second defense pair here, and we're assuming it's going to be Nick Seeler and Jamie Drysdale. In a perfect world, at least for me, that's my third D pair on a good team. Nick Seeler, Jamie Drysdale. Drysdale's 23 years old. He's going to be an RFA after next season. Is he going to be 24 at some point during the year? Let me see.
20.
Born on April 8th. So he'll be 24 towards the end of the year there.
All right.
Look, I got no problem hiding this guy 5-on-5, right? He started to figure things out towards the end of this year. But he's a guy, if I were coach, I would baby a little bit. I would make him earn his 5-on-5 time, right? Like, if you want to play more 5-on-5, if you want to play more minutes, play better 5-on-5, get better defensively, do the things that we need you to do. You know, if you're, -5, -10 at the end of the year, that's fine, because we're looking for offense from you. As long as we're getting 45, 50 points, maybe 15 power play points, something like that, that's fine. But you can't be -20, -25 on a good team. If in a perfect world, I would hide Drysdale on that third line with a Nick Seeler. I think that could be a perfect partner for him. A guy that's going to worry more about defense, let his D partner do his thing offensively. I think Drysdale is dynamic, and I've gotten shit for saying that. But when I watch him play, look, there's not a better skater on the team than Jamie Drysdale. The way he uses his edges, the way he creates his own space to get a shot to goal. When you have a defenseman or even a forward that can create his own space to shoot or have a scoring opportunity, that's massive in the NHL. And Drysdale to me is one of those guys. So if I'm the coach, I'm going to hide him from the things that I know that he's not good at. And if he's not good 5-on-5, I'll put him on that third pair, and I'm going to make sure he gets out there in the offensive zone for faceoffs, and I'm going to put him on that power play one. I'm going to say, dude, run the shit out of it. It's yours. So I think he can be that guy. I don't see a reason why now he needs to get top 4 minutes 5-on-5. If he's getting 15, 16 minutes a night, that's perfectly fine. If he's getting you 1-2 points every other game, you know what I mean? I'm trying to find a way to and you might say that it's bad for development, but I think it's getting his confidence up. I'm hiding him as much as I can from the defensive mistakes until, he can grow and earn more time. And I'm putting him out there in the offensive zone and on the power play as much as I can. Does that make sense, Jack?
No, it makes perfect sense. If you're still, like, we're going to be critical this year, and we're going to look for what you're known for. Are you doing it? And if the answer is yes, it's hard to critique a guy like really badly. So you can still get on him for his 5-on-5 and overall defensive play if he's giving you what you brought him in for, and that be the exact scenario you set up there. You shelter his 5-on-5 minutes until he earns it while he does what he's supposed to do on the power play. That would be ideal. I mean, what would truly be ideal is 2 years from now, he's developed into this, does it on offense, and is more than capable on defense. But we're nowhere near that now. So at least show me what you're supposed to be able to do now, and we'll handle your defensive deficiencies at this time, and we'll work on that later once you pass what you're supposed to be good at. And that's essentially what you're setting up. And if he can show that and do that, he'll take some criticism, sure, but it will ultimately be a positive outlook for this season going forward. And that's the perfect way to do it. You're going to get the power play time because that's why we brought you in. We're going to probably shelter your 5-on-5 minutes until you earn it because we don't trust you all that much defensively. But if you give us A and B comes later, that's a step forward. That's a big step forward. And that's exactly what this team needs. It kind of what I would be looking for, because I don't expect him to become a perfect prospect or player really in 1 year. This is the first year where the excuse bag is empty. But if you at least show me that is a significant enough step forward that I can deal with what you still need to work on, because you just said he's still 24 years old, and we're talking about defense here. So that's always going to take longer than any other, well, except for goalie, any other position. So for me, I'm willing to, I'd be more than happy with that. If he were to give us that offensive prowess and just take over from there, I can deal with him figuring out the defense later and sheltering his minutes this year, or, some kind of combination of that. They were a little short on D. So yeah, I think that's exactly what needs to happen and what I'll be looking for.
Yeah. And the thing is, my scenario was in a perfect world, right? And unfortunately, this pairing is right now the second best pairing on the Flyers, who, we'll talk goaltending further on in the summer. But the goaltending, at least on paper, I mean, it's improved, but I don't think anybody should be sitting here confident in Dan Vladar and Sam Ersson. So with Nick Seeler and Jamie Drysdale as your second pair, look, my question before the show was, is it good enough? And look, it's not. If that's the second pair, it's not. I think Nick Seeler, what I love about a guy like Seeler is what you're getting, like I kind of talked about with Ristolainen. And look, it's a little boring. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on Seeler. You know what you're getting, and it's very good from what should be a bottom pair guy. You're getting blocks, you're getting hits, you're getting physicality. He allows his D partner to do his thing. He's responsible in his own zone, gets pucks out, can chip in offensively once in a while. Like, he has it in him, but it's not really his job. So Nick Seeler, I think, is just a dependable player, which you need. He's boring to talk about, maybe not as boring to watch, if he's getting involved physically and he blocks a shit ton of shots, man. I think he would have been in the top 3 again last year if he didn't miss time. But yeah, any thoughts on Seeler before we move to our third pair there, Jack?
No, I really like Seeler. Like, he's exactly the kind of player you need. I don't think he's blocking a spot because he holds a specific role that is kind of replacement player. But he does it well. Like, he's one of those guys where at the end of the year, I look at what he did and I don't have a whole lot of criticism. If you're expecting more out of him, you don't understand what he is. And he pretty much gives you his, blood, sweat, and tears. So how could you, be upset with that? I don't think it's an issue having him here. I think he's a stabilizing force. You said the defense is somewhat, or the when I say defense and the goaltending, all that is somewhat better. I think one of the stabilizing factors is a steady Eddie like Nick Seeler. And he's not just going to block shots and, be a good defensive pairing for a guy like Drysdale, whoever winds up with him, probably a younger guy, maybe Andre. But he's also going to drop the gloves. He's going to hit people. He's going to defend his teammates. Like, when he's gone, we're gonna regret it. We're gonna miss it unless like Hunter McDonald comes in and handles things. But it's like that kind of guy that like he seems like a true veteran, even though he kind of just resurrected his career, which is another great thing about him, how he kind of turned his life around, really. And it's like that kind of guy, you need that kind of guy on your bottom pair who's going to play the tough, hard, painful minutes. And I think York learned a lot from him, to be honest, the way he's really had his defensive game take a huge step forward. I mean, shot blocks with Seeler and York, if you were to bet that, you're going to win. I'm telling you. Like, you know, that is a glitch in the betting matrix, although maybe we'll figure it out this year. But, like, those things go – it's like an unsung hero in a sense. Maybe I'm overplaying it a little bit. But still, like, there are things that you're going to need and you're going to want. I've probably gone on too long about Seeler as it is, but, like, I just have zero issues with the guy. He's exactly what you want in a third pairing defenseman. Yep,
that's well said. And you know, it's when you can plug a guy in and you know that you're just not going to have to worry about him for that spot. That's Nick Seeler for me. So, yeah, Boost Wholesale says seal the deal, bud. All right, let's move on then to our third pair, and this could be the most interesting pair right now, especially with Ristolainen set to miss time. And you know, I think it's fair to pencil in Igor Zamula into the third pairing right now in July. Would you say
it's his job to lose?
Okay, that's a good way to put it. Yeah. He's played, I think, just over 120 games the last 2 years with the Flyers. Hang on, I have his stats up here. 63 last year, 66 the year before, 14 the year before. He's played a total of 155 games with the Flyers. He's been, honestly, he's been consistent to the point where I think we kind of know what Zamula is. And in my opinion, he's a 7th D. 25 years old. Yeah, he's still getting the hang of things. This will be his third full season in the NHL. But I don't watch Zamula, and I don't think this is a solid third pair guy. You know, the Flyers have a guy that they can pencil in next season and say, yeah, we can count on this guy. Because, look, from a game-to-game basis, you can't. In my opinion, when he makes the correct play, it's more of a surprise than not.
Relief.
Yeah. Like game in and game out, like I watch him and I'm like, dude, don't hesitate. Don't hesitate. You see the play, you know the right play, just make the play. And I can't tell you how often it's just, look, in hockey, it's the fastest sport on earth. All it takes is that 1 second of hesitation, and these guys are going to eat you alive. And that happens so many times with Igor Zamula, and I'm not sure if you can fix that, right? Like, you have to assume he sees the play and he knows the play, but his body just can't catch up. So, look, I'm not going to say that I'm going to write Zamula off, but on a good hockey team, I don't think Igor Zamula is penciled into your third pair. Unfortunately, I think we're penciling him in for now, at least on the Flyers, right, Jack?
Yeah, I mean, the second, like, because guys like Juleson and there was another guy they signed. I'd see him more in the AHL guy. Gilbert, depending on how you say it. If there's a guy they want to bring up from the AHL, Juleson's going to stay at the press box. So unless he's in for Risto or something, the first guy they're going to pull from the lineup is going to be Zamula. Like, he is just, to me, he's a placeholder until one of these AHL guys knocks him out of the spot. And there's several guys who can do so. And with each passing year, it gets tougher and tougher. And it's really put up or shut up for him. He cannot just be a guy. He cannot just hang around. He cannot just hope he gets put on the second power play unit and gets a couple of points or blasts a shot from and it bounces in. He's going to actually have to be pretty good. And I don't see that happening. I don't think anybody sees that happening. I think placeholder is the perfect word. He is the guy there now until somebody knocks him off his pedestal and there's like 6 guys lining up, and it's just a matter of time. If I'm wrong, it's a great problem to have. The odds of me being wrong in this scenario, probably less than 10%. So, it is what it is. Thanks for you. This was a Hextall, like, free agent signing, after the draft. Like, that's 2 GMs ago. There's no reason for Briere to keep him around if he's got other toys he
Other
wants
than
to try.
Michkov, right?
Well,
his translator.
Yeah. I mean, and look, that his game, as Torch said, when he used him to translate, his game fell off a cliff. Like, that's a quote. It's like, sorry, like, yeah, it only goes so far. And so it is what it is, and it's a business. And thank you for your service, and good luck in your future endeavors.
I like this comment from Boost Wholesale. Boost says he's trying to slow the game down. It's a skill he tries to push too much. And
That deep too, yeah.
Well, here's my thought to that. I don't think he's trying to slow it down. I think that's just his speed. Because you remember when Torch tried him on the power play, and it actually helped for a few games there. And Tortorella said he likes that Zamula slows the game down up at the point. And I'm like, dude, he ain't doing that on purpose. It's just that's the way that he moves. He moves that slow. So by default, he slows the game down. And that gets him in trouble with his decision making, especially in the D zones. Like, so teams know, forecheck the shit out of this guy because he's going to cough the puck up.
He reminds me of a lot of the defense we had, like when Hacksaw was running the team. If you wanted to screw with this team, just pressure him. Just pressure them, and they're going to fall to pieces. And that's Zamula fits right in that MO. And it's a shame, but unless he changes something, it is what it is. And this is easily his last year to change something. And I don't even think he's got a full year. Let's be real. He doesn't. He does not. They want these guys to start taking steps up, and they're looking for a reason. And maybe the Risto injury keeps him around longer, but like they're looking for a reason to either put him in a press box or trade him or whatever, because they know I think they know what he is, and it's only a matter of time, whether it's Bonk or Andre or whatever. And it is what it is.
And so let's talk about some of the guys that could supplant Igor Zamula. And, we still got one more spot open on the roster here. So we'll talk a couple guys. And obviously we've talked about Emil Andre. I feel like for at least the last 2 off seasons now, this will be the 3rd one. 23 years old. We got a taste of him last year. He played 42 games. Was a -5 in those games. Only scored 1 goal, but had 7 points. Flyers, I forget. I was talking to someone, and we were talking about Emil Andre. And while Andre was with the Flyers were doing pretty well. I'd have to go back and look at the win-loss record. But when they sent him down, they missed him in the lineup. Like he was turning into, like, sure, he was going to make some mistakes. Rookie defenseman, smaller. There's going to be growing pains. But this is a guy with upside. And in my opinion, he was consistent, but would make that occasional error or mistake where it's like, rookie D, he can't do that. He's got to get better at that. And I think it should have been able to happen in the NHL for a full year. He was certainly good enough, in my opinion. Certainly, I think better than Igor Zamula. I still have high hopes for Andre. I think he potentially could be on the second pair. Like I don't know how do I say this without saying I think Emil Andre is going to be better than a better hockey player than Jamie Drysdale. Like, I think Emil Andre could be a more dependable second pair defenseman, like all around.
Yeah, more well-rounded than
Jamie Drysdale. Yeah, whereas Drysdale you can kind of deploy as a weapon. Emil Andre, you can get out there to eat up some minutes. He's on the smaller side, which I think is going to hurt him now that they are keeping Cam York around, at least we think, for the next 5 years. And
tradable contract.
Yeah, that's true. And I would assume that they really want this Jamie Drysdale thing to work out because there aren't that many defensemen out there with his skill set. It's just a matter of, can he do it over an 82-game season? To me, Emil Andre could be the odd man out now, depending on how this goes. But I still see him as a top 4 guy, second pair defenseman. I think there's so much upside here with Andre. And I think it's fine to have him on the third pair to solidify the third pair. The thing is, he's going to need, a defensive partner that can make up for the mistakes that he's going to make. They're going to happen, but I still love Andre. If they're going to, look at a perfect world, if they have Drysdale out there on the PP1, Emil Andre is my guy on the PP2 still, even with the York contract and even with the offense that, we might be able to see this year. I'm dug in on Andre, Jack. What do you think?
And I mean, not just York, no Sanheim either. I've always liked Andre. I agree totally. I thought he was having some good chemistry with Michkov his first time up, and it really looked like they were starting to come into something there. But like at the same time, like you get sent down, like you're going to face adversity. This is why I was such a big proponent of dealing with Torts. You're going to face a lot of adversity. You're going to face a lot of BS throughout your career and through your teams and all this stuff. You got to be able to handle it. And when he went down to the AHL, he was okay. He came back up. He wasn't the same player. He went back down. They wanted him to have that playoff run. And I watched every single Phantoms playoff game. I did not miss one game. And he was not noticeable. He wasn't. I could name 8 other players I noticed more before I noticed Andre. And it was my understanding they thought he was going to dominate. Now, note, different systems, Phantoms, Flyers. Say what you will. To me, they're all professionals. We were able to figure it out. He played with the Phantoms before. It was the same coach. But yeah, he was anything but noticeable. And the other defensemen honestly stood out over him with the Phantoms, at least in the playoffs. And to me, it's a little concerning. But there's always that I was just with the big club. Maybe it just takes its toll on you in a way. That is a little bit of an excuse, and I don't like that because I'm pretty hard on guys that get sent down. I think they shouldn't have gotten sent down, and you could go the York route where you actually turn your shit around and figure it out, or you could go the Vorobiev. Who's that redhead we had that we got rid of? Used to, his game was bull in a china shop. Wade Allison. Yeah. And you could, boo-hoo, and you're either out of the league or definitely off the team, and it's like, I'm going to see what he does this year. If he makes a team out of camp, it's a non-factor. But if he has to play with the Phantoms, I'm hoping that he can suck it up and figure it out because he has the skill and make his way back up here. And with a more reasonable, level-headed coach, stick around and then be a full-time NHLer, which would be, for me, with Andre this year, that's all I would need to see from him. Obviously, he needs to play pretty decently. He can't just be terrible and be forced up here. But I would like to see him not be the reason why they move on from Zamula. It is what it is. It makes the most sense. You can wait on Bonk. You can wait on Bonk. A guy like Hunter McDonald, they're not the same style of player. They're not going to take it. That's a whole other thing. And I don't even – Hellsgron's he's going to be around. He's another guy. Maybe I'm jumping the gun a little bit. I'll cut off my Andre there. I'm looking for him to supplant Zamula and be a full-time NHLer because various reasons, but also not poo-poo about being sent down to the AHL and show that he can just pull his game together and make it worthwhile. And then there's part 2 of that, and I'll stop now. That's what I think about Andre. Are you ready to move on to another defenseman?
So I didn't watch the Phantoms, admittedly, so I'm taking your word for it. If I'm looking at stats, 6 points in 7 playoff games.
Yeah, I mean, so what my understanding this is from that Tony Arkalakalis or whatever. I can't remember his name. He follows the team. Whatever. He said the Flyers, their brass, they really wanted him to shine. And points are nice, but when you think about who shined in those playoffs, it was Zayd Wisdom, it was Bump, it was Luchenko, although they took a lot of penalties. Gurbenkin, Zamula, who should be an NHL caliber player, they look bad. The first couple of games against Hershey, they were there. They were sometimes a better team. And then the last 2 games, just absolute, and a lot of that was goaltending, but just terrible. But the defense itself, defensively, was not good. It's not good. They definitely put themselves on the penalty. A lot of their goals were Zayd Wisdom scoring shorthanded. 1 game, 2 shorthanded goals. Where's the power play goals? Like, I think if you look at their power play stats, they had 2 goals the whole playoffs or something crazy. They did dismantle somebody in the first round, so maybe that bumped it up. But when it came to playing actual talent, like the Hershey Bears, like they were not up to snuff. And yeah, if you get secondary assists, that's something. But like when I watched that, Luchenko's assists were primary. Bump was scoring. Gurbankin has some nice plays. Some of the older guys, like Garrett Wilson and those guys, and who's the other big guy down there? Not Obels. It was this other guy. I forget his name. Like they were the ones making noise, and obviously Wisdom on the penalty kill. I barely remember hearing Andre's name. If he's got 6 points, which I'm sure are all assists in 7 games, maybe one of them's primary. And I understand you got to cycle and you got to play. I'm sorry, but that's not enough to bump you, and they those last 2 games against Hershey, embarrassed. They were embarrassed.
Yeah, I wonder if so we were joking around earlier in the offseason, should LaPerriere be considered for the Flyers job?
Oh
and
God,
I wonder if the lack of structure down there system-wise had to do with why they wanted to turn things over.
It was something, man. I'm telling you, like, and maybe it's on some of the players, but I saw penalties I didn't even realize were penalties. Like Luchenko got called for like a tripping, and he like left the penalty box a second early and had to go right back in. I was like, I've never seen that before. I'm sure it's written in the rules. I'm like, and then from there on out, it was like, seriously, I'm not joking when I said 6 to 7 penalties minimum per game. Ridiculous. It's a playoff game. Like, you cannot be taking that kind of penalty. And Andre wasn't taking them. I'm not saying it was him, but I'm just like, lack of structure was certainly a thing. And I just felt like he was barely out there. Like, and they would be on the power play and they'd take a penalty. It's like, well, now we get to see what they got. It's just, I'm a little, hopefully I'm wrong. I hope he, stands out a little bit more and doesn't, take his, he got the minutes. I will say that he certainly got the minutes. But yeah, I'm trying to think defensively, who else would they even have had down there? Hunter McDonald, who in his own right was taking plenty of penalty minutes. And there was a lot of fighting, especially that Hershey series. They did not like each other at all. You could tell, which was nice. It was old school hockey. It was very nice. But like other than that, like defensively, maybe Hellsgrons. I really don't remember hearing his name too much. Gotch, this is the guy I was trying to think of. Thank you, Vegas. He was doing some stuff offensively. But yeah, it was kind of embarrassing to watch. Like I was shocked that you said he had 6 points in 7 playoff games. I was. And I think they swept the first round 2-0, and then the rest were, all Hershey. And the first couple of games of that were even, and they even looked like the better team. Then they had that weird, like 3 days off before they played again, and it's like they just didn't show up. And they lost Gahagans, who they didn't re-sign. I thought for sure he'd be back, but Peterson gone. I thought it'd be Bjarnason, him, and like maybe Fedotov or something, but I don't want to go off on a tangent. Apologies.
No. I mean, we'll talk goalies. I think right now it's just, I think the plan is Fedotov, and you just name Bjarnason.
Bjarnason for sure, and they signed. Hold on, I got it.
Yeah,
I'm going to find the picture I took, and then I'm going to have to.
Yanniv Peretz.
Oh, you got it. Very good.
I think he was with Carolina last year. I forget the college team he was with, but they went pretty far if they didn't win it all the year before. Actually, you know what? I have the internet right at my fingertips.
I see ECHL Bloomington.
One
NHL game. Oh, he's a Quinnipiac kid. Okay.
I think I thought they won the whole thing. He played with Brindamore's kid in 2022-23. And then he played a couple games with Carolina. Yeah, Yanniv Peretz.
Well, that tells you a whole lot about Kolosov.
Yeah, I think Meltzer pointed something out, that he's likely going to be an ECHL guy, but he's absolutely depth in the organization, which is good signing. You need depth.
Maybe that's why Gahagans was let go, because he was definitely AHL, never not ECHL. So they needed a guy that could be a tweener there. Bjarnason's definitely AHL. We'll see what happens with Fedotov. When he got asked about the AHL, he seemed surprised, but it's like, yeah, but we're not surprised.
Hey, you're making $3 million, dude, and you didn't earn it.
Just eat it. Yeah,
do whatever they ask you to do, bro.
Just eat it.
Or stop the puck, either way.
Or figure it out. Yeah, right.
Okay, So we covered what could be potentially the top 6. Now they went out and signed Noah Juleson. Admittedly, I don't know about you, Jack, but I haven't watched much of Noah Juleson. The only Noah Juleson memory that I have that comes to mind is I think there was a training camp a few years ago. I'm not even sure if it was Rick Tockett's or not, but he was absolutely gassed, laying on his stomach on the ice. I don't know if he came in out of shape or just didn't know how tough the camp was going to be. But that's the only recollection I have. And the first thing I thought of when they signed Noah Juleson, I believe he was a former first-round pick, was supposed to be better than he was, and it just hasn't really, kind of worked out the way that they thought things were for him, obviously, because I think he's bounced around a couple times now. Boost, I think it was Boost in the chat that said he's a Tocchet guy. So I'm sorry, John White said this. So don't be surprised if he's a third pair guy. He's a bigger body. They're missing a big body in Risto. Maybe we shouldn't be so quick to pencil in Emil Andre. Maybe he's got to earn his spot. What do you think of Noah Juleson, Jack?
Yeah, I mean, look, Montreal, Florida, Canucks, now the Flyers. So you said he was a former first-round pick?
I believe so, yeah. I want to say middle to late.
All right, he's only 6'2". My joke's not going to land as well. But, he's fourth
26th overall, yeah.
Fourth pair player at best. To me, yes, you should earn it. Like if somebody gets hurt, he's the guy going in, which is why I don't want Andre to get called up from injury. I want them to say, we're bringing Andre in. We're moving on from Zamula. Juleson stays at the 7th and comes in when necessary to spell somebody or injury or whatnot. He'll probably get the first crack at it unless somebody has a wild camp for a while. Risto's out, but that's it. That's it for me. I mean, he 20. Here you go. Thank you, Lyndon. 2015. That's the Konechny draft, for God's sake.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I cannot believe in that draft he was a first-round pick. But I mean, he is who he is, and he's a 7th pair guy. He'll come in. Yes, you got to earn it, but also him and some of the guys we see making that jump outside of like Hunter McDonald are a different style of defenseman than he is. So not too concerned there. He's a guy. He'll get his minutes. He'll spell some guys when they're injured or need a break, and I think that's about it. And I think they like that he's got some size, 6'2", not too bad, bigger guy.
Right shot, yeah.
Right shot. You take what you can get, but I think that's about it.
I wonder if he's the guy that they lean on, sort like Torts kind of. I don't want to say Torts relied on Zamula, but Zamula was kind of Torts' guy. Like, this is my third pair guy, and whoever's left is going to match up with them, kind of thing. I wonder if Juleson ends up being that for Tocchet. And this isn't me saying that he should be their third pair guy, but if I try to predict what I think their third pair could look like, actually, I would not be shocked if game 1, Noah Juleson was the third pair right shot defenseman paired up with Igor Zamula. Like you said, big body. Tocchet, I guess, has seen him before. Maybe he trusts him. He knows what he's getting in a Juleson. It's your spot to lose until Ristolainen gets back, kind of thing. What do you think?
No, I agree with that. And unless this is like who supplants a bigger body. Like it's tough. You look at your makeup of your D and maybe what you want in your bottom pairing. It's kind of like hard to pull a guy like that and throw in a smaller guy, So at the same time, unless somebody freaks out at camp, he's an NHL guy. Like, I think it's in a sense his job to lose, but he's still the 7th guy filling in for somebody who's out. So I fully expect that to be the case.
And Boost has just been on fire tonight. So Boost says it's probably the third pair, but that's a tank for McKenna.
Is there a stealth tank taking place here?
I think that dude, they went out and signed, and look, we're going to talk goalies, but they went out and signed Dan Vladar and said, okay, we're good in goal.
Well, okay, so context. Yes, you're right. First off, yes, you're absolutely right. The goalie market was already not good and considerably shrunk. Like, maybe 1 or 2 goalies got moved, Gibson being one, and apparently the asking prices on goalies was wild. And then Jake Allen signs this ridiculous deal with the Devils where he could have made like $4 or $5 million in the open market per year. He signs it. It's like 5 years. He's making like 1.8 mil a year. What? What? If I'm Danny Briere, I'm like, yeah, definitely didn't see that happening. I mean, I get it. You want to stay in an area, you want to stay in a place, you like the locker room. Holy cow, you left a lot of money on the table there, my man. So you kind of look around like, okay, who's left? Vladar has openly said he wants to play for the Flyers. It's like, I guess we'll just go with him for now. Like, Jesus, I mean, but it does feel they did trade for Zegras, so it's but like it does feel a little like this year. Good thing we already signed Tocchet. You can sign your coach before free agency, not after, because that's a tough sell. Yeah, we're turning the corner this year with Vladar. So it is what it is. It's I'm glad they didn't give up big like prospects and picks and assets for a goalie. And I was not on the Demko train. I wasn't. And look, he resigned anyway. I mean, you deal with that injury and how he's had to retrain himself to play the position. It was a tough market. It was.
Yeah, look, I'll agree. And I think for me, like, and it's not I'm going to cut them any slack kind of thing and whatever. Just the reality is that doesn't do much to help your cause of trying to get better for next season. Like, if Dan Vladar, where did he come from last year? Calgary. If Dan Vladar had a subpar season with Calgary last year, plug him into the Flyers last year, and what do those numbers look like? Yeah, the Flyers had subpar goaltending. They had some of the worst goaltending in the league, if not the worst.
Still an upgrade.
If we plug Dan Vladar into the Flyers last year, you know what I mean? So, like, in my opinion, look, we always want to look at the save percentage. But and people say, like, look, you could put, like, I guess an extreme example would be the Edmonton Oilers went to the Stanley Cup with Stuart Skinner, right? You can put a bad goalie on a good team, and you'll win games with that goalie. You can when you put a bad goalie on a bad team, you're going to lose a lot of games, which we saw with the Flyers. And look, I hope that Vladar can help Urson reach whatever his ceiling is, which I think most of us are saying now is, he'll be a very good backup in the sense if we can play 30 games, 35, 40 games for the starter, whatever it is. I just don't think that the Flyers improve. Like, we're talking about the defense, and there's questions on every pair. You know what I mean? Like, they're running out what I think should be a third pair on a good team as probably their second pair. And they're going to run out there with Urson and Vladar. And somebody mentioned, it's not so much a stealth tank because they went out and signed Dvorak and they traded for Zegras. Trevor Zegras ain't known for his defense, so he's not helping in that sense. Christian Dvorak, yeah, he's one of those depth guys that will do all those things, win faceoffs, be responsible in his own zone on a one-year deal. How long-term is Christian Dvorak? Is he somebody that they could look to move? Like, to me, those moves signal we're not going to be very good defensively this year. Will be more fun to watch. Come trade deadline, we're going to try to move out this guy that we signed on a one-year deal. I could be completely wrong.
So, but look at it this way.
That's the way I'm reading this,
So they made a total of one trade and was it 4 signings if you include both defensemen, a goalie, and Dvorak, right? That was all their NHL technically signings, and they traded for Zegras. The trade for Zegras was more of a now and future thing. Mm-hmm. All the signings were a stabilization thing. They weren't for the future. They weren't for a reclamation project. It was stabilizing the team. Vladar, yes. Does he have issues in Calgary in the low save percentage? Absolutely. He's still better than Kolosov and Fedotov, like by a pretty decent margin, at least at this point. We'll say in Kolosov's career, because I don't think Fedotov's going to be anything. So that with Urson, at least it may not be good, but it stabilizes your goaltending. The two defensive depth signings stabilizes the bottom pairing of your defense. And Dvorak stabilizes your center position, bottom pairing, face-offs, however you choose to utilize him. Nothing was really done outside of Zegras to like, this is a step forward in what we're going to do. This is a step forward in going to making the playoffs or anything like that. It was all about keeping things from falling apart because, again, they traded Lawton. You had to replace that. They've moved on from other defensive pieces like Eric Johnson and whatnot. You had to replace that. So it's like, and they need to do something about goaltending. We expected a little bit more, but they didn't want to sacrifice the future for somebody, and I don't even know who that somebody would be. So it's like, we're going to go with what we got and see what happens. And yeah, I think the best way you could describe the signings they made was stabilizing what they have for next year only. Zegras was a trade, and that's a whole different story. But every signing they made, none of them were for building towards the future. They're all for this year, and they're all for keeping things somewhat from falling to pieces and unraveling, because that, especially in goal, because that has such a effect on the morale of the rest of the team. And I think that's really all they did was keep the status quo. Thank God they traded for Zegras. We can look at something and say some kind of spark for the future. And they're still rebuilding, so I'm not going to kill them for that. But that's what that's really all they did.
Yeah, that's kind of how I'm looking at next year. Let's have fun. Let's lose a little bit. Let's have a shot. Let's have a ticket for Gavin McKenna or somebody mentioned the big center, Rubrick in the chat there. I think it was Linden 49. And let's continue building. Now we can move on a little bit here. Was there anybody else on defense that you wanted to bring up here? Because I know we mentioned what we think are the top 7.
No, I'll just throw out some other like dark horses. The organization that has stuffed Hunter McDonald down our throats. I don't see him coming up anytime, maybe towards the end of the year, something like that, or an injury to a bigger guy. Hellsgrons is a guy to keep an eye on, though. Like he didn't look out of place when he played in the NHL. He's a guy who could push Andre a little bit. It's unexpected. It's not a part of the plan, but he's a guy that if Andre gets his chance and maybe doesn't impress, next time around it might be Hellsgrons getting that chance. And just something to keep an eye on. But I think for this year, that's unless Bonk freaks out in training camp, I think that's probably it.
Yeah, I would love to see that as a third pair if there's a way to do it. Grans and Andre, I think they play together with the Phantoms. They're both of the same. I better get this right, God forbid, because the Swedes don't like being called Finns and vice versa. Well, Helge Grans is Swedish. I believe that Emil Andre is also Swedish. Yeah, so I mean they speak the same language. One's right shot, one's left shot, one's a big defensive guy, another guy's got some offense to his game. Perfect world. They both work out. Boom, that's a pairing. I think Grans has been around for a little bit longer. Let me make sure here. As I remember the draft, I was really hoping that they're the same age. Grans was taken in 2020. Emil Andre was also taken in 2020. I think Grans went a few picks before.
Both second rounders?
Both second rounders. So in a perfect world, I would love for that to work out where they play on an NHL pair together. Grans, for what it's worth, played the most games he's played at the professional level last year. Career high in goals with 8, one more than his rookie season. So if you go back and look at his, I'll call them simple numbers instead of the analytical numbers, the nerd numbers. I don't know about his play driving, this and that, his expected goals for, yada, yada. But his simple numbers, he had a great rookie season back in 21-22 and didn't do much in between that until this season with the Phantoms, where he's back to putting up 20-plus points and scored 4. He had 4 points in the playoffs with the Phantoms this year, put one in the back of the net. We'll see. Just 23 years old. Way too early to give up on the guy. He should have some runway, big body. I'd love to see him with the Flyers. Hopefully, yeah. And maybe Tocchet sees him as like, yeah, I would rather see this guy up here than Noah Juleson and Igor Zamula. Let's give this guy a shot. I would love for that to happen. You got anybody else?
Unless I'm forgetting somebody, I think that's it.
Okay.
Am I forgetting?
I mean, we got all summer, so if we missed anybody,
I think anybody else would be kind of like wishful thinking.
that comment there, all Swede, no finish.
You like that?
Boost is on fire tonight. Boost and
Absolutely.
Linden on fire in the chat. All right. So I know we are over an hour here. We did have more. Do we want to save most of these for next show, Jack? Maybe we pick one more topic out of what we have left here.
Yeah, I think we should do. I'm thinking. Well, what did you think? I'm thinking of the draft stuff. Let's do the prospects from the Athletic, because I think that's going to go stale. We don't talk about it now.
Okay.
So I don't know if you saw Scott Wheeler of the Athletic release his top 100 prospects.
I have not, and I'll tell you why, because I'm not a big fan of Scott Wheeler.
A lot of people aren't. And when I looked at his, and I want to thank Jonathan Vegas. I do not have the Athletic anymore. He hooked me up. All right. So I was able to look up some things. So Jonathan, if you're listening, thanks, bro. We're a rebuilding team. All right. We've been rebuilding for quite a while now. Out of the top 100, according to Scott Wheeler's Athletic list, we have, how many players do you think we have listed in the top 100, Jim?
3.
He's bad. He listens. He remembers the pregame, that cheating bastard.
See, Jack, I listen.
All right. At 9, Porter Martone.
You think I was going to guess the wrong number and be wrong?
I was hoping, but I've been, this stuff's pretty good. I've been, it is what it is. So at number 9, Porter Martone. That's good. A top 10 guy. I love it. They ranked him one spot below James Higgins just for an off-on goal, but it is what it is. Then we got to wait all the way to 45 until we get Oliver Bonk. And then at 54, Jet Luchenko. And then no more Flyers for 100. Okay. Who do you think should have made the top 100 from the Flyers prospects? I have 3 notable snubs, and I wrote a total of 4. One's a little iffy. Who comes to mind? Who do you think got snubbed? 100 top prospects. And I seen some of these names, and I'm like, really? That's all? I think that's some BS right there.
Honestly, that's a good question. I think it's pretty notable. The Flyers have a lot of middle 6 and maybe second to third pair defensemen in the system. I even think, there could be a case made for Oliver Bonk as not being a top pair D, as just being and it sounds bad when I say it, I think, as just being a second pair D, a very good second pair D. I don't think you mentioned Denver Barkey as one of the 3, right? It was Luchenko, Bonk, and Martone.
Martone, Bonk, Luchenko. Barkey he's my one that I was like, I could see them leaving him off. I'm not going to kill them for that, because what you just said, the 2, 3C, more likely a 3C. I kind of understand that. As much as we like what he's done, I kind of understand that. So, I did put him on my list as a snub, but I kind of get it. You got 32 teams and whatnot. Linden is just blowing it up. He's so far. I'm going to steal your thunder a little bit here, Jim. He put Barkey. This is the one everybody's thinking of right here, and I think this is truly a snub. I mean, how what he's done and in college, and even didn't look at a place with the Phantoms. If anything, he was like a guy that teams planned for, even though later in those playoffs he kind of puttered out. I love his mentality. I really do. He's like that. I shouldn't have. What was he, a 4th or 5th round pick? He's like, I cannot believe I was drafted that late. I have a chip on my shoulder. He's talking smack after the game when they beat I can't remember who they played before the Hershey Bears, but he had 2 goals. And he's like, the defense is soft. They don't know what the hell they're doing. It's like, Jesus Christ. It's your first professional game, basically. And it's like, he's like, I don't want to sign a silly ELC or whatever he said he wanted to sign, a tryout, play a couple of games and go back to the juniors or college or the Phantoms. He's like, I'm gonna play with the Phantoms. I'm gonna learn some things, and I'm gonna make the team out of camp. I'm like, I cannot love his mentality more. And I understand if you're a guy who's covering the entire league, some of that stuff might be lost on you. But Bump has really been knocking on the door. I'm really surprised he didn't sneak into the bottom 90 or something like that. So, sizable snub for me.
I would like to say that I'm surprised, but I'm going to be honest. I think Scott Wheeler is a joke. I don't think he watches these guys I think he looks at probably their analytics, the numbers. Maybe he watches the top 20, 40 guys that he puts on the list, right? Because just because a player doesn't lead his league in scoring doesn't mean that he's not a top 20, 40 prospect. Do you know what I mean? Like a guy he can be an offensive guy and have all the skill in the world in the OHL, but does his game translate to the next level? And in my opinion, that should be accounted for when making these prospect lists. And maybe that's why a guy like Brady Martin got a lot of love towards, leading up to the draft. Maybe a lot of scouts and GMs or whoever makes these decisions saw a guy and is like, his game translates and we want that. I don't know, but I would bet money that Scott Wheeler hasn't watched Alex Bump, and that's why he left him out of the top 100.
So I'm glad you brought that up, because there's two things to that. Like, one, it does seem like whatever the Twitter sphere, those players, whoever they're onto, seem to be higher ranked for him.
Yeah.
Also, I noticed the most recent draft, like the entire first round and some second rounders are in there. It's like, Jesus Christ, these guys just got drafted. Like, Schaefer is his number one prospect. Misa is number 2. Demidov is number 3. I would have probably had Demidov like fighting for number 1, if not number 1. Like, geez, I love Schaefer, don't get me wrong, but like, these guys just got drafted.
You know what's going to happen with that though? Like Montreal is like Philly when it comes to this stuff. Like, you know how all right, for example, we only have 3 prospects on this, right? So once Philly fans get a hold of this list, you know what's going to happen? Everyone's going to share this list. Everyone's going to have to see and read this list in Philadelphia. His clicks go up, yada, yada. Same thing with Montreal. You put Schaefer and Misa ahead of Demidov on this list. Wait till Montreal gets a hold of this list. You know what I mean? So it's strategic somewhat.
You're right. In the Athletic has definitely taken some hits in some years, especially if you look at their pricing. So for sure. But the other one, I got to give it to Lyndon. He nailed it. I just said that all these first rounders, I saw second rounders listed. Riker Lee, Malcolm Spence, guys like this. You know who wasn't ranked at all? Jack Nesbitt. 12th overall pick, Jack Nesbitt was left off the top 100 after the entire other first round was listed, multiple second rounders with other prospects. But Jack Nesbitt, worth a 22nd and 31st overall pick to trade up, was left off the list. Now, look, I know what you just said about Scott Wheeler's list, but it's still noticeable. It's maybe it's just Flyers hate at this point, but my goodness, Jack Nesbitt. I mean, I can't say I don't agree.
I mean, he was ranking the Flyers as what, a top 2, top 3 farm system when they drafted German Rubtsov. You know, so like, I'm sorry
if
I have a hard time.
Progman? That might have been Progman. I'm not sure.
Dude, I don't know.
They were ranked high
for me, so it's
they were ranked high back then. Yeah,
I have a real hard time putting any stock. And look, he probably is doing what you're saying, taking the first round of the last 2 drafts and going, these guys must be the best. So this is how I'm going to rank them. I'm going to mismatch them.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of our fantasy league for football. It's like you could have an established guy who's really good at like the running back position. And then like somebody comes in and has one pretty good year and they're like, oh, well, he's 22 years old. He's like the top guy. I'm like, it could be a 1-year wonder for all you know. And that's how they are. Shiny new toys just shine brighter than those who've proven more in the league. Like, or the leagues they're in, or longer they've been a prospect with it, associated with the team and moving up the rankings. It's unbelievable. I was shocked. But you know who the truest snub of all is? The number 1 snub for me?
You want me to guess? Because I think I'm going to ruin it.
You ruin it for me, Jim.
No, go ahead.
Yegor Zavragin. I mean, apparently he released a goalies list. Top 20. I think he was like 18th or 19th. He should be number like 4. Are you kidding me? And he must not watch Russia. There's no way you can watch a guy basically play for the start for like the Yankees of the KHL. I think did they go to the final? Oh, no, that was Shabanov went to the final. It's like they had a phenomenal season. They may not have won the cup or whatever, but they have phenomenal. you hear a lot of stats from goalies over there. He's done really well for his age. He's done really well for his age in this league. Zavragin is like doing really well for anybody at his age in the top league. Like, what else do you need to see from the guy to give him just a pat on the freaking back? Like, I'm not asking you to put him in your top 10. You couldn't give him a spot. Even with your goalie rankings, he's not even in your top 10. This is just blatantly silly and stupid. You clearly do not watch or give a rat's ass about the Russian goalies and whatnot. So why are you even making a list if you are like cutting off a portion of the planet? Like, it's just stupid. I cannot believe that they just completely left him off the list, the top 100 prospect and the top 20 goalies too. That just, to me, that's just, come on. What are we doing here? And it just shows, it amplifies why the Athletic is just taking a death spiral, essentially. I cannot believe you had the balls to release a list like this and a prospect like that. And I think the top 20 goalies thing bothers me more, but like, oh my God, what does a guy got to do? What does he got to do? You've seen what Shesterkin and Sorokin and these guys have done in the NHL, and nothing? It falls on deaf ears? I can't believe that. I cannot believe that.
And now you understand where I come from when I hear,
Scott Wheeler made
a prospect list. I'm like, ooh, here we go. We get this, a mishmash of shit, thrown on a piece of paper.
Jim, I was trying to keep my composure because I was gearing up for that.
Yeah. It's, look, I think as Flyers fans, we'll always overhype our guys. I've never watched a single game of Igor Zavragin, so I can't say that he should be ranked 18th. I can't say that he should be ranked higher. Look, I'm just being honest. Like, I don't watch goalies. I think a lot of goaltending, and I could be way off on this, is a product of the team in front of you. I think a sign of a good goalie is when they make, what do they call it now? Unexpected saves. Whatever.
It's like there's John Gibson had it was like high percentage saves or a higher percentage of saves in like the highest dangerous chance.
Like when you're not supposed to make the save and you do, or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I can't remember what the stats called.
I'm like, I have the right wording, but it's in the wrong order. It's like danger chance zone or something, like between the hash marks is one of them.
We'll have to have that stat when we talk.
Or if there's like a pass. Yeah. Goals saved above expected. That's probably it.
There it is. Perfect.
I'm like, danger this, fire that.
That's the stat you want to look at, I think, when you're looking for, is this guy good or not? Because on a good team, for a while there, like, if you're a goalie and you're not making the highlight reel save, it's because your team's good and you're good. You don't really want your goalie to have to make highlight reel saves.
I grew up watching Dominic Hasek. Yeah, that was the definition of goals saved above expected. Like that. That's what in our league, I traded for Gibson years ago because of that. The Ducks just went down the toilet, but like, he was really high in that stat. I used to look at what goalie was top in that stat. I mean, think about it. If you're in a situation like that, you make that save, you're a good goalie.
Yeah. That's the stat that I would probably judge a goalie off of. Don't get me wrong, his other numbers got to be good as well.
Right. But, you want him to be like,
is he making the saves that he's not supposed to make? Like, that's probably the judge of a good goalie.
Is he making those saves, but is he also like sound? Like, is he doing everything he's supposed to do as well?
Yeah.
If you can combine those two, you have a pretty good goalie.
Yeah. So Michael's just joining on the D there. Mike, you might have to go back and listen through the whole show there. We appreciate you chiming in. I don't know if I've seen you in the chat before. Welcome. But if you're a podcast listener, Michael says, just joined, with the exception of Drysdale. None of these D excel at helping us get the puck up the ice. I don't know. I think I disagree a little bit there. But maybe that's a conversation.
Well, it was definitely an issue in years past. I do think they're coming around on getting the puck up ice.
Yep. I will agree with Guido here. One of the worst defense cores in the NHL, especially without Risto. I'll have to change. Hopefully that changes. Look, and we could start to wrap up here, but this decor is, they didn't really make any changes to it. They're heading into next season. You would hope with, more consistency. They know each other a little bit more as pairings and whatnot, as a group, as a defense core. And hopefully that starts to translate to the ice. They were without Drysdale early on in the season, without Risto towards the end of the year. They weren't getting what they should have been getting from Cam York. Sanheim was up and down. They moved him around a little bit, or moved his defense pairings around a little bit. I think they're banking on consistency. Let's keep these guys together and hope that they grow throughout the course of a season. And because right now on paper, I don't think it inspires much hope. There's a lot of we'll see, a lot of questions, like we mentioned throughout the show.
Yeah, and the Shaw thing's going to come up. If anybody we like, or our Sanheims and Aristos who've turned their careers around, they take a step back, we're going to look at that D coach and be like, well, when Shaw was here, we were looking at trading those guys. Now they're like staples of our defense. If they start to take steps back, we're going to look at that D coach and be like, what the hell's going on here, pal? Like, we were taking steps forward. Now we're taking steps back. We're supposed to be winning now. What's going on?
Yeah. I'm already questioning some of the decisions by this guy with not shaving his head. So we'll have to just shave it off, man. It says a lot about you. Like, if anybody in the chat, if I'm offending you in any way, I apologize. But just, if you're losing it, just get rid of it. Right? You be the boss. Be your own boss. Make your own decision there. Take charge. You don't need it. You don't need it. Let it go. Especially the horseshoe or the cul-de-sac. Get rid of that. It's I'm just joking around, guys. But hey, fellow Baldy, Boost. I knew it from your comments, Boost. One of the smartest guys in the chat. You had to be. But okay, guys. So we're gonna start to wrap this one up here. Jack, any closing thoughts before we do the end read?
No, I was gonna make a joke. It was gonna be terrible. I'm just gonna stop. Good show, good talk, and let's go. Let's just go from there.
All right. Well, we didn't do the hat read. Should we do that?
Knock it out. I mean, they cover up bald spots.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you get sunburn when you spend all day outside.
I definitely get sunburn. Look at the skin. Jesus.
All right, let me find that damn read here. Here it is.
I'm Irish.
All right, boys and girls. If you have not yet, and they're flying off the shelves like hotcakes. If you have not purchased your HW Hockey golf hat yet, we just dropped the perfect blend of style and performance, our brand new HW Hockey golf hats. Whether you're hitting the links or just repping your favorite hockey brand off the ice, these hats are designed for comfort and breathability, for that clean, classic look. With a sleek fit and embroidered HW logo, you'll be turning heads while sinking putts and covering your own head. So don't miss out. Keep it high and wide all summer long before they're gone. Scan that Venmo code and make sure to send over your mailing address so we can ship you your new HW gear. Hats are on sale now for $30. We'll take care of your shipping and handling. So free shipping, $30 a hat. Look at that thing. Look at that model. Not afraid to shave his head, by the way. It's a good...
You would have no idea, though.
All right, boys and girls. $30 sale. We're going to wrap up the episode here. Thank you for everyone who stuck with us until the very end. A long one, if you will, in the dog days of July. If you enjoyed the episode, please make sure to give us a subscribe and like the episode. Those are important too. Now, we're on a quest for 1,600 subscribers by August 16th. That's a pretty specific date. Like and leave a comment for us on YouTube, Apple Podcast, or Spotify, and set alerts so you're the first to know when we drop a new show. For all of our latest episodes, articles, and updates, you can head over to hwhockey.net. For Jack, I'm Jim. Until next time, don't forget to keep it high, keep it wide. We'll see you next time on HW Hockey. Bye-bye.